So you've been looking for that dream opportunity, the chance to go and work at a company you've been absolutely excited about, and then their job interview becomes available and you're thinking, wow, I've got a chance to hopefully go and get this job and sail into the sunset of my new great career in a company that I want to work for. But the question is, how do you get the job? What are the things you've got to do as a salesperson to make sure that you tick the boxes and get that company wanting you in their business, selling for them? My name is James White. I'm a small business sales expert, but a man that loves helping sales professionals and business people everywhere. So in this video, we're going to talk about the 8 key things that you've got to do in order to make sure you get the job. Let's have a look at the video. So if you've had that opportunity to go and work at a new company and you've seen the job application come through and you've been in sales for a little while and you've got some experience in that industry, then it's a great chance to go and work at somewhere else and show your skills. But there's a number of key things you've got to put in place if you want to be successful and hopefully get the job. So what are the key things you've got to look for when it comes to winning that job and getting the business to want to choose you? Point number 1 is this: preparation. It's the starting point of every interview, but it sure as hell is the starting point of your sales interview with the company that you want to work for. Firstly, how much time have you spent to be able to look at who in that company are the managers that are going to be speaking to you? How much research have you done? A simple Google search, you can type their name and company, have a look at their LinkedIn profile, have a little look at their background. Who is it they used to work for before? Maybe there's a Twitter profile or an Instagram profile, they can share some hobbies. Your job is to get as much insight as possible into the person that you're going to be interviewing, but also the company themselves. What's their case studies? What's their services that they've been offering? What type of customers work with them? Where in the market do they fit? What do they see as their opportunity or their USP? Get yourself familiar and don't just browse through it 10 minutes before the interview. Make time maybe on a weekend before or whenever, maybe the evening before. Give yourself a couple of hours to get yourself immersed with some of the key points of the company and to look at the key people. Make sure on LinkedIn that they can see you've looked at their profile. It's going to help show them that you were prepared and you were able to get ahead of the game and wanted to do the right thing to make sure you make the best impression possible at the interview. People that prepare have a better chance of success. And being honest, when I see salespeople that don't bother to prepare or don't bother to engage, it generally makes me think you're not worth the effort. Because if they're not going to do that for a job, how much effort are they going to put in when they're working with me? Small little tip, say the company you're working with as well has a software product that you can take a trial of it. Take a trial of their software. Get amongst it. I had someone come to an interview with me once who had actually phoned up and tested the product and tested the customer service team. She was so on the ball when it came to sales and in terms of being able to engage with the company, we were blown away by her effort and what she did. That preparation makes a big factor. So put the time in, put those elements in, prepare, look at the company, look at the people, and you're going to put yourself in great position to hopefully then make the most of the interview. So point number 2, make sure that you come with lots of energy. So here's an example of a salesperson I once had for interview, and I was meeting them face to face in my office, and they turned up at 2:30 when the interview was at 3 o'clock. It made me feel that they didn't care about their own time. Now, don't get me wrong, I love the fact that someone was keen to be at my office, but giving that person that's interviewing you 30 minutes of stress thinking that they're downstairs and they can't get on isn't the right way forward. Try and be there 5 to 10 minutes ahead of it and make sure when you go in, you give that energy, give that smile. A little word of warning, be careful who you speak to in that company. You never know whether you're speaking to someone that's really important. And I've seen examples of other people who have been rude and disingenuous to people that they've met at the front part of the process, who were then really key, who then would talk to the actual person making the appointment and said that person was pretty rude and that ruined their chances. Be kind, be courteous about everyone you meet in the process. And then when, of course, you do get into the interview, we want to be energetic. That doesn't mean to say we've got to be rah-rah all the time, because that's not going to work either. But show you're passionate, show you care, show you're excited. But also be in a position where we can learn to control that, as I'll talk through in one of the other points. But as we said, make sure you give yourself time to be there on time, ahead of the game, but also don't be too early. Think about what it means for the other person if you're half hour early, or certainly if you're going to be late, and it does happen, give notice of that. You might miss the opportunity, but don't do what some people have done and just literally turn up late and think that's okay. So point number 3 is a simple tip that's one I use across all my sales videos. It's something I encourage you to do with any sales conversation, and that's look good and feel good. What do I mean by looking good and feeling good? What I mean is that put your best blouse on, put your best skirt on, put your best top on, put your best suit on. I don't mind. Even if the interview's on Zoom, feel good. You've got to feel good. When you feel your best, when you're in that sharpest outfit that makes you feel good, then you're going to give off that extra few percentage in the way in which you deliver something. But be careful about what you eat the night before, or maybe make sure you get enough sleep. Make sure you've also given yourself time to eat properly, maybe something that's going to give you energy during the course of the interview. Little tip for you, put that aftershave on or that perfume on that makes you feel amazing. Make yourself feel 10 foot tall. If you can do that, it's going to give yourself the best chance, along with your time and the energy and your smile, to make a real impact at the start of the conversation. So point number 4 is all about breathing and pausing. I'm a big believer that when you're going through stressful situations in sales, the best way to handle it is to breathe. And when you let breath come in, oxygen come into your bloodstream, it's going to calm you down. It's going to give yourself a chance to think clearly about something. I was once talking to a good friend of mine, a cricketer, who said that Sachin Tendulkar, the great Indian batsman, when he was in stressful moments in the cricket field, with millions of fans around the world looking what he was going to do, he used to just take some time to breathe. So if it's good enough for one of the greatest cricketers ever, then it's good enough for you in a sales interview. Breathing is a great chance to just give yourself that moment to really let things be calm. Let the elements of our brain, that fight or flight mechanism, the ability to say something or do something, just be controlled by who we are. And that leads me on to my second point, which is pausing. Pausing is so important in sales. It's one of the critical factors of sales. If you can learn to pause at the right time and show the other person that you're giving thought and thinking to their question, then it's a far better approach than just rushing headlong into something and then wondering what you're going to say. I wish I did it more often. Trust me, pausing is something I continue to learn to build a skill around. But when you pause in an interview and you use that alongside your breathing, it gives the other person a chance to see that you're not just someone that will shoot from the hip, you're really reflective. We've got to show that self-control to resist the urge to speak, but to think or to let someone else talk or to let something else happen. So you're probably thinking, come on, James, all of this stuff's all a load of prep. I want to get into the nuts and bolts of how good I am. Of course, we're going to talk around these elements themselves that are really critical in the interview process. And the next one which we have is about your approach. What I mean by your approach? What I mean is when I see and meet with salespeople I interview and they tell me about a team they were involved in or something that someone else helped them do, it makes me think, have they got the ability to be accountable for their own actions? Be able to detail your sales approach. What are the core factors that you use to get sales results? Not blame it on someone else. What do you do to look yourself in the mirror and decide how to be able to achieve success? And maybe you can come to the interview with a plan. What would your plan be for this job? I know if I was interviewing someone and they came and said to me, here's what I would look to do over the course of the first 30 days, 90 days, 180 days, I'd feel, wow, this person really has a clear approach on what they're going to do. By the way, if you're not sure what the sales plan should be, I'll put a link into my sales plan video and that will tell you what your plan can be. But the reality is your approach to sales and selling, the things that you think are critical, are a great way to then approach the conversation. But be clear about who it is you are. Why are you in sales? What drives you to do it? How do you like to approach sales conversations, which are the bits around sales that work really well for you and that you're very good at? How do you go about taking a prospect from here through to becoming a customer? And try and see if you can adapt that to the industry or the company in which that you're talking to and show them that things might take time. If they're a company that sells maybe complex software for a couple of £100,000, don't make your approach then about doing something in 2 weeks, because the reality is it's going to show the interviewer that you don't get the market. So understand the audience, prepare, really get to know them, and then focus on how you can show your approach to getting sales success. So point number 6, it's all about successes and failures. Of course, they've hopefully brought you to the interview because they've had a look at your CV and they've seen some of the key things that you've done. By the way, your CV is key part of the preparation as well, but we've assumed in this video that you've gone through that process. But what we have to ensure is that we talk around the successes. And when I talk about successes, I mean detail. I don't just want to see, oh yeah, we achieved our turnover by, achieved our target by 50%. I want to know detail. Or it may well be in the case that it's a failure. Being honest, if you want to say to someone that in an interview that you've never made a mistake, or you've never lost a deal, or you've never missed an opportunity, they're not going to believe you. I wouldn't. So be open about your failures. Where did you get things wrong? What happened? What did you learn from it? What were the key things that went on, and how did it affect your mood or that day-to-day activity, or even your career with that company? Be open about your successes, but also your failures. Be able to control yourself. Give yourself 2 or 3 sentences to answer a question or respond in a succinct way, and then put it back to the person. Have I covered what you'd like me to? Have I covered the key points that you wanted to? Did that give you enough information? I'm happy to provide more, but I'm conscious of wanting to make sure I've given you enough here. So my 7th point and the penultimate point here is expect the unexpected. What do I mean by that? Well, nowadays, there is so much competition for roles that the chances are you may get an unexpected thing happen to you. For example, you may get a question that's very difficult, or you may even be asked to present a solution of the company to someone in the room. Or I've certainly, in certain sales situations, interviews, done role play. I've asked them to do a role play. And the reality is, what I'm looking for when I ask those things is not for them to be perfect. I'm just looking to see how they adapt. Because one of the critical skills we can have as salespeople is to be versatile. And if we can think on our feet and know what to do in a certain situation, then it's going to give the interviewee, the interviewer, the belief system that actually if you come across a difficult scenario, then you're going to be able to handle that when it comes to working with their customers. And by the way, if someone does ask you to do a presentation on their company, what you do, be absolutely open to saying to them that, look, the way I'd probably approach this with a potential customer is to talk about them and talk about their issues and their challenges. Remember, the best salespeople are listeners, not talkers. They ask great questions to get to know into the mind and the buyers that they're working with, and that helps them get the results they want. And the final point about getting the job and doing your best within a sales interview is to be curious yourself. When I come into sales interviews and have conversations with salespeople, that when I say to them, tell me a bit more, what questions have you got? And they say to me, no, I've got no questions. I'm left disappointed. I want to be curious. I ask them, tell me a bit more about what the role looks like day to day. Who would I be working with in the company, and what are the good things about those team members, and what are the things that maybe could be challenging for me? Or tell me a bit more about the commission plan, and by the way, is it an unlimited commission plan? That's what I'd like to hear. Whatever the questions are, be curious yourself. I'm not saying you should make sure the interviewer is treated like they're in the interrogation in the police, but you want to ask questions. You want to show that you're intrigued by that business and what's going on. By being curious, you're also giving yourself the best chance of being successful. I'd be asking questions such as, tell me about the mentoring and training and support that you put in place for your team. How do you make that happen? And by the way, if they don't know anyone, you recommend them my way for a sales trainer. I'm joking. But the point is this, be curious about the situation and what's going on. Be able to ask questions yourself that are open, that are asked with great empathy, that are asked in a great way, because it can make the actual interviewer think that if that's the way you ask them questions, then maybe you'll do the same with their clients. So there we have it. There's the 8 elements that I think if you put in place, you've got a better chance of getting the job. Be prepared. Make sure you do the right work to know about the company and the person you're speaking to. Make sure you're on time, but not too early, and give your energy. Your smile is your brand. Make sure you look good and feel good. How we feel, it makes a massive difference in the way we operate. And if we feel our best, we're going to give our best. Make sure that you use time for breathing and then pausing. Pausing is critical, and it will show you understand it and the power of it in a sales situation. Detail your approach. Be able to share details in the questions or the approach that's given, how you achieve sales success. And then be able to back that up by how you've done it with detail. Don't blag, don't talk about superficial things. Be able to cut to the chase and talk about specific dates and times when you made things happen and what you did and didn't do. Successes and failures are clear. Be able to be adaptable, be able to respond to a situation, but then be curious yourself and leave that interviewer knowing that you're intrigued by their company and keen to work with them, but it's also not just a one-way street. Great sales interviews always work in a way where both sides think they want to work with the other, and it's about you wanting to work with them and getting the right approach, but also them thinking, we've got a gem here, let's get them on board. So those are my tips to get the job. Let me know how you get on. I'd love you to put in the comment section below whether you've taken this advice on board and used the information to get the job that you want. But whatever the key thing that you're doing, give it your best, give it your all, and remember this, if you don't get this job, hey, don't worry. The woodpecker doesn't hit doesn't make a hole in the wood every time its beak hits. He uses persistence. And if you want that sales job, use the learnings, keep driving forward with your learning process, and that job will hopefully be yours. Thanks for watching the video. If you've enjoyed it, please share it with other sales colleagues. Let's make sure we get everyone that wants the job for them getting the job. And if you do like it, please like and subscribe to the videos and the channel. There's loads of resources to help that when you do get the job, you get incredible results. And I can make sure you do that through all my resources and help.